Welcome back to Story Mode. This is Taylor.
I'm Bertus.
Ben.
I'm Chris.
Alright, and today we are actually going to be talking about antagonists in video games and what actually makes a good antagonist in the video games. And each of us have 4 different villains spanning across 4 different games. And we're going to start off with Chris today, and you're going to be talking about...
Well, yeah, but I should clarify. Each of us has 1 villain.
Yeah, 1 villain.
We have a total of 4. There are not 16 villains we're bringing.
No, only 1 villain each. No, that's just too much.
You mean you guys didn't prepare a little notebook of each? Okay.
No, this is, it's just
but Bertus, your extra work is so appreciated.
It's just the,
Yes.
I'm trying to think of a good villain describer with it begins with F, like blank 4, as opposed to the satanic 16.
The
final 4.
Yeah, I guess so.
Sure.
The Fab 4.
The Fab 4. No,
Which
I like
actually
that
would
one.
make a lot of sense when I move into that's a good introduction to introduce the Fab 4, our villains of choice. What antagonists really I guess do you enjoy? Mine's Bowser. Now,
way to sell it.
Now, hear me out, guys. Part of the reason I landed on Bowser, and I hope this then will... I want to go first, because I think this is going to spark some interesting challenge to you guys. Because I don't think there are that many great villains in games. If I were to compare...
Well, Bowser's definitely not one of them.
No. I would pretty much... cop to that. But he's still probably my favorite and the one I enjoy the most. But I don't really enjoy him necessarily when he's the villain either. I realized I enjoy Bowser from Paper Mario and the Thousand Year Door or Super Mario RPG, the games where you get to play as Bowser, and he's not really necessarily the antagonist. He is in the Thousand Year Door, an antagonist. He never really plays. He's never really a good guy, but he's only ever really in Mario's way twice in the entire game. He's certainly not the lead antagonist for that game.
Yeah.
But that does nothing to our discussion of what makes a good antagonist. You don't believe he's a good antagonist.
Well, sort of. No, but I do believe he's a good antagonist. I like Bowser because he's lovable. So he's the kind of villain that when he shows up, you're just like, yeah, more of this guy. I love this guy. I like to think that if Bowser were to have a voice again, because he does have one in Super Mario Sunshine, and it's not that great, it would be the voice of Will Arnett. Because it would just be too perfect.
Yeah, I don't.
Will Arnett, if you're
I
listening...
imagine Baby Bowser. Will Arnett, but...
They could both be Will Arnett.
Yeah.
But
just as a higher
that gives
pitch.
you an idea of perhaps how I look at him and how I see him as just lovable doofus kind of villain. Mm-hmm. Where it's just he constantly fails, but he's trying his best. And really, there are some great essays I've seen, arguments that Bowser's actually way better at this than most other villains. Because any Mario game that just starts, he's already taken over everything. He's got his castles all over the place. Mario's got to clean up everything. How did they let it get so bad that a plumber has to come in and save them?
I mean, true. Usually Bowser has his stuff together.
He's also a family man.
I wouldn't say it necessarily.
Bruce and I raised a good point about that in one of our Mario World. He just sends wave after wave of his own children to kill Mario.
Well, the Koopas aren't his children. It's just the Koopa kids.
The kids, yeah, for sure.
But each of his kids is just kind of tossed and abandoned after they die.
Yeah, especially when Baby Bowser comes into the mix.
I mean, yeah.
They're basically redheaded stepchilds at that point.
I think that's just more the way the games treat them. But,
Well,
that's how we perceive them.
But those are the villains I'm talking about, guys. I'm talking about capital B Bowser.
Papa B, if you will.
No.
Or if you won't.
So you're saying that his charm,
Yeah.
his adorable and dorky charm is what makes him a good villain. And the fact that, he already does establish himself well into the games as...
Like I said, it's one of sorts... Especially when you play, the Paper Mario games, which are my favorite Mario games, he seems just strangely huggable for a villainous person. There are certainly Mario games like Mario Galaxy where he comes off as menacing, I guess. But I don't really care for him as much there as I do the games where he's given some real strong characterization, where he's kind of a buffoon who's trying his best, but still manages to succeed quite often. And there are even games where it's Mario and Luigi Dream Team, whereas like he manages to like one up other villains within the context of the game. Just like, well, I didn't think Bowser could do that. I thought he was a complete idiot. But yeah, I wanted to bring up Bowser to kind of give you guys a framework to then work off of, which is, like I said, I don't think there are that many great antagonists for games. To me, usually it comes out the better characters are the ones that's like the anti-hero that's on your team, who you're begrudgingly working together with because you have similar goals.
My villain falls into this too.
Like, so, like that's where I feel like most of the best because they're not usually antagonists in that spots. They're kind of like they're like a foil character or like the Lancer to your hero kind of character. They don't necessarily ever fall into antagonist territory. Because another one I really enjoyed was there's a character like that in Horizon, who is not the villain, although you might be able to place him there, but he's really interesting, but he's on your side for the whole game, so it's really hard to paint him as an antagonist. Mm-hmm. And I feel like that happens a lot in games, where it's just like, the villain of the game is really kind of boring and rote, but there's always this character who's like kind of hanging around. It's like, yeah, this is the fun character, the interesting one, but they're not really the villain, they're not really the antagonist, they're just kind of also in the game. So, that's, I guess, my challenge to you guys is, when you bring up your examples here as we move forward through this conversation, I want you to show me that, no, Chris, you're wrong. I think there are strong antagonists in games who really add value and really push the boundaries of something and are just as... Because, we did the comparison one last week, so I think that's where my mind started at, was like, if I compare video game villains to, like, movie villains, man, movie villains have them beat so bad.
So you're the real antagonist here. You're the one who I'm trying to defeat with my example. I understand.
Yes.
Oh God, why did we give that power to you?
But I'm not in a video game. So,
don't jump on him, Bertus.
So you can't use me as your actual example.
I mean,
well, Bertus is
say one of these pages isn't about you, Chris.
All right. Well, Bertus, maybe you can start since you seem to be so
violent.
You want to prove him wrong? Step forward.
All right. Well, so my villain of the week is.
Let's not do this like old serial style.
Is Jack of Blades from the Fable series, who you don't really get to meet until after the first chapter is over in the first Fable game. You're maybe referenced to him once in like a legend via the villagers you talk to while you're doing stupid quests as your village burns.
This is like the first chapter of a game being like the first 30 minutes, first hour, first 2 hours?
Probably the first like 20 minutes, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so Jack of Blades is part of the Heroes Guild that you inevitably join. And you really don't know much about him because they don't explain a whole lot to you other than what people in the game will tell you in passing is that he's a hero, but that he scares them. And you really don't find out why until you're like reading into the lore of the game. And
is this in the game or is it?
This is in the game. And specifically they're telling you that, he's been around for a very long time and he's immensely powerful. And as Ben kind of likes to point out, through the lore you find out he's kind of an idiot. He basically could kill the entire human race, but he
tried
won't.
3 times.
Because he wants them to bow to him. He wants to be their ruler. And the way he makes a good villain, in my opinion, is throughout the course of the game, he's kind of shaping you via the decisions he's asking you to make. He wants
you work for him?
He's a hero who's above you in station. So he's just kind of offering you rewards.
Does he give you quests? Is that how the game works?
No, the quests are already available to you. He wants you to be impacted. And he's impacting you and your rival because no matter what you pick, your rival will pick the opposite. So there's if I were to get a quest in this game that's like, go and clear out these bandits from that barn, and I get to the barn, Jack of Blades would be waiting there for me. He's like, well, no,
you can totally kill all these bandits.
Specifically, the quests are available to you, and you can choose to either raid the barn or defend the barn.
Yeah.
And the idea is Jack of Blades is set it up so he is attacking the barn. And if you pick to defend the barn, your rival then picks to attack the barn.
So you would fight your rival?
Yes. And as a foil later on, when you fight your rival in an arena, you have the option to kill her, which is imposed directly upon you by Jack of Blades.
Yeah.
And so if you choose to do it, you are siding with him, and you are, becoming the evil part of the villain. And either way, at the end of the game, you wind up fighting him. But he's a good villain because he is kind of ever present throughout your quest, even though you don't realize it.
Do you know he's the villain?
Like 3/4 of the way through the game, you find out he is.
So he's kind of like what I just described, which he's a bit like a character who's. Because I don't want to go like take every villain that's like that. Because certainly, as Taylor pointed out, like hers actually I think has a much stronger case for kind of being like that than yours does. Whereas like the hidden antagonist is a bit of a common trope, but I'm not going to rob that of like saying that's like just like Bowser.
Yeah,
no. But
and there are cases where the hidden antagonist actually works.
Well, yeah, because you keep grazing on it, but like the main point of Jack of Blades was he was trying to figure out if you were of the old Archon blood, so he either gets defeated by you and you would take up the sword, which he would then control you, or
it's a mask, but yeah,
but well, he's using the sword because the sword is all powerful.
Yes,
his mask is too. There's a lot of weird things.
The mask makes you immortal.
Yeah, I'm getting really lost all of a sudden with Ben bringing in all this jargon.
Yeah.
But
you said something about blood of the blood.
So the Archon blood.
The Archon blood, which is an old
the
kingdom
old
that
blood of the
resisted him
heroes,
the first time.
And it's like the Star-Lord of the fantasy world.
Not really, because basically all heroes have Archon blood.
Yeah.
They're what give you the ability to use magic and like.
He's just trying to find the best one.
Yes.
So the one who has the most purest line of Archon blood.
The one who has the most metachlorians in his Archon blood. Is that what we're going for here?
Not necessarily.
It's just like
basically
the
the one with the
champion
right
above the
spirit.
rest.
Yeah.
That was the whole point of the arena.
Yeah.
I'm trying so hard to bring in other things to like tie it in so people listening can
It's
understand.
not working.
And you guys are not helping in the slightest.
So you're
Just
Russell
like
Crowe in Gladiator, and I guess your opposing gladiators would then be the other heroes. Because you're not necessarily better bloodline, you just have the correct spirit and the right temperament to like mow through
you're
your
just better
competition.
than the rest.
Yeah.
So you the heart of a hero, basically.
Kinda, yeah.
Okay.
Or the heart of a villain? Is that
Or the heart of the villain, yeah.
So basically, let me put it in a Star Wars term. Is the Emperor kind of like Jack of Blades?
No.
Or
No, not at all.
Because the Emperor directly affects you multiple times. He directly like warps Anakin's opinion being present.
Mm-hmm.
Sure.
And Jack of Blades does none of that. He literally just has these two people who are like,
I mean, he's
I'm
offering
paying
you
attention to
real
these two
world
people.
like options. He gives you money. He gives you like experience.
I'm still confused. Like, is he giving you the quests, or are they like
He's hiring.
He
the
rewards
guild,
you for tasks you do complete if you
Yes.
complete them in his favor, but he's not giving you the quests.
okay.
He is a cause for a lot of the world's problems, but the Heroes Guild is being chartered to stop these problems from happening. So you have the option to side with the Heroes Guild and help defend it, or you have the option to do what Jack of Blades wants you to do and continue to like make the world a worse place.
Yeah.
Okay.
Peter Molyneux for you, everybody.
Oh, yeah, I'm not going to get into that. 'Cause,
That's a can of worms. He's the real villain of
but
Fable.
I do think Jack of Blades makes possibly the best villain in the entire franchise, just because
I'd agree with that.
of
he's-
Fable?
Yep.
Yeah.
Of any Peter Molyneux's game.
Well,
He's dark and brooding, and people in the world seem to think he's not only just this long, ever-present thing, but he's also regarded as a hero. People who don't know him think, oh, he's a hero, he's going to be a good guy. So if you're, like, fighting him, people don't understand why. It's just kind of a nice setting of the world.
So he's basically created himself a niche where people think so highly of him that they won't suspect him of the things he's doing. And when people turn
Kind of.
against him, they're like, well, why is that? And they tend to ostracize the people who turn against him rather than look at Jack of Blades.
More or less, yeah. I mean,
Okay.
people-
Bowser needs to get in on this a little bit.
Yeah, like, that's actually a very good thing for a villain to do, is make himself, put himself so high in the pedestal in the eyes of the main people that anyone that goes against him becomes a pariah. So he basically, that is actually a very smart tactic for a villain.
But what always struck
what-
me with Jack is that he does have a.
It's a massive ego.
Well, there's a he makes your life hell.
Yeah.
Specifically as a protagonist, which makes him a great antagonist to you, the
Yes.
character. Just because of how he's affected your family.
I mean,
Yeah, so I guess, like,
So he directly...
when you get to the end of the game, are you then just like, I want to murder this guy, or I want to prove him so wrong by not murdering him that he, like, murders himself?
I mean...
He dies either way, but it's if
Yeah.
you decide to use the sword that he has been trying to power up or not. That's really like the choice you get at the end of the game.
Well, I mean, you also can wear the mask and become Jack of Blades.
Oh, yeah, if you do Lost Chapters, yeah.
Yeah.
Like, he becomes you? Like,
like the mask is what actually contains his spirit.
He's another
so like the human being that you're fighting may not actually be Jack of Blades?
No. The mask that is on the character you're fighting.
So he's Majora's Mask?
Basically.
Much, yeah. Yeah, I mean,
who, as I say that, is actually, I realize that's actually a very compelling villain for a game.
Also true. Although we don't really know enough about its origin.
Actually, I really should say the Skull Kid is a very compelling antagonist for a game.
But that's not my villain.
No.
But yeah,
Jack
of Blades like sets up like a raider attack on your village who winds up killing your parents and almost killing your sister. And it's...
Does he know who you are at this point?
He knows you have Archon blood.
That's about all he knows.
Doesn't everyone have... I'm so confused by the way you guys are
describing can have Archon blood.
So basically,
I think we need to move on.
It's like Wizards and Harry Potter. Only a few can have...
Yeah, only a few can
basically.
have it.
Okay.
But all heroes have it.
Yes.
Yeah, but all wizards have wizarding blood, but only a few out of Muggle families will have wizard blood. That's basically it, right?
I mean, yeah.
Okay.
There aren't really like purebred like heroes in this.
That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that like in Muggle families, every now and again a witch will pop up, and that's the same concept here. Every now and again, a hero will pop up.
Yeah.
You guys are giving me so much.
There are
I have no idea.
Amount of heroes.
I've played this game years ago, and I don't know.
You're only like a couple hundred years after the Archons have like fallen.
I think we're getting way too into the game.
Yeah, we're getting way too wrapped up in the lore of this about like it should just be about the villain.
Just know that some people have Archon blood and some people don't.
Yeah.
All right. Well, let's move on to Ben real quick.
Yeah, Ben, please.
Not all squares are rectangles.
Yeah.
But all circles are blank.
Are all ovals.
The villain I brought to the table was one of my all-time favorites. It is Jean Irenicus from Baldur's Gate 2.
John or Jean?
I've heard it pronounced both in the game, depending on what region you're from. I like to mess around. It's a Jon.
Oh. John.
But John is... You as a character, when you're in Baldur's Gate 2, you already have a predetermined like history, more or less. Depending if you're good or evil, you have certain facts that are true. You were the child of a dude named... Or you were a ward of a dude named Gorion. You don't know who your father is until the end of the game. You learn that your father was the Lord of Murder, who is dead, but his contingency plan was to make a bunch...
What irony there.
Yeah, I know, right? His contingency plan before he died was to make a bunch of spawn so that he could eventually come back. You find out that you're one of them.
So, like, he's... Wait, the
Lord of Murder.
Oh, the Lord of Murder is not the villain you're talking about.
Not yet. So the second game picks up that you have now been captured by a man named John Irenicus. And he is trying to exploit your lineage for some purpose you're not aware of at the moment. And you then eventually bust out of the prison, where then you have this confrontation in the middle of a city where he kills like 20 different wizards that try to arrest him because magic is illegal. And then he like kidnaps your sister and then runs away, to which you find out that John did that to be captured on purpose, to be in the biggest magical stronghold in the entire world, and use it to exploit more for his experiments because he wants to attain godhood himself. John Irenicus used to be an elf, but because he was doing forbidden magics in the elf world, his lover, who happened to be the queen, expelled him and then stripped him of his elfhood, making him mortal and more importantly, making him human.
Wait, so like, does he have regular ears now?
Nope.
So
they're implied that they've been chopped off.
Oh wow!
Yeah, in his picture, he has only like these little cuffs over his head, and it's even implied that the face that you see is not actually his real face. He was so embarrassed by the way he looked, he gained a new face, or it's a mask.
He invented plastic surgery.
Basically, kind of.
I mean, magical plastic surgery.
Yeah. But what I love about so there's whole quest is to basically attain godhood and get revenge on the elves because he felt he was better than the treatment they gave him, and so he wants to destroy all the elves for casting him out. Where you play into this is that he basically he's using you. He's using you like he's used a ton of your siblings before. You just happen to be another person who happens to be a champion above the rest, and there's a constant foil for him. There's a constant source of his his annoyance.
Wait, so why does he pick you? If his only goal is to just get arrested, why doesn't he just do something stupid to get arrested?
He needs your blood.
Yeah, he needs your blood.
Oh, okay.
And as you find out, your one of your companions, Imoen, who he steals when he gets arrested, is also a ball spawn. You find that out later when you go to rescue her from the magical prison.
That's one of the guys that you are?
Yes.
Okay.
Ball spawn. Ball is the Lord of Murder in this game.
Oh.
And John Irenicus feels if he becomes a ball spawn himself, he can become the Lord of Murder and thus
achieve
godhood, but also kill the elves.
Is it spelled B-A-A-L, like Baal and...
B-H-A-A-L.
Okay. It was like Baal and Diablo 3, only they pronouncing it Ball because they came out around the same time and they want to make sure it's a little bit different.
Well, I mean, Ball's been long established before Diablo was.
Yeah, I imagine so. That's right, because Baldur's Gate is Dungeons and Dragons, isn't it?
Yep.
The Forgotten Realms.
Huh?
Yeah,
Nothing?
I don't think they're called the Forgotten Realms anymore.
No, they forgot what they're calling it.
But, like, it becomes the thing that you're such a thorn in his side. What's interesting is that when you interact with him, he gets more and more annoyed with you. That I believe there's a conversation about 3/4 of the game when you interact with him again. Because he's one of the few villains I see in games where you can have constant interaction with him. Whether it's through your character himself or you as the viewer getting to see cutscenes of what he's doing behind the scenes while you're doing quests to try and find him. And that he eventually gets to the point where he's just like, you were supposed to be nothing and now you become the greatest nuisance. And he becomes like, it becomes personal for him, whereas 3/4 of the game, it wasn't personal for him either. It was just personal for you because he tortured the out of you. And so it's like, no matter
Why
if you're
can
doing...
you not make it 40 minutes without swearing, Ben?
Mouth of a sailor.
No, you have, it's like worse. This mouth of Ben.
I've heard some sailors say some interesting things.
You know sailors?
Dad. Not a sailor, but
Army.
knew quite a bit.
Yeah, not Navy.
No, I know. I've met quite a few.
Okay.
That sidetracked me.
Cut.
So now
Line?
it's become personal because you keep interfering. He's now as a vendetta against
But you're...
the
Why
protagonist.
are you keep interfering? Because you're just trying to save your sister?
You're trying to save your sister, and because you realize, like, shortly after you break out the prison, that what he's trying to do is trying to kill all the elves. And that's wrong. Now, it's either wrong if you're a good character, or if you're a bad character, like, this guy knows how to become the Lord of Murder, I want to become the Lord of Murder, so you have to find him to get the means to do so. But even then, he acts as a foil and an antagonist to you, no matter if you're doing good or evil.
Okay.
I did it good. I haven't played evil yet, but, like...
You better get on that, Ben. It's been 15, 16, 17, 18 years.
I did it good.
You're running out of time.
Yeah. There's just no more time.
I did it good.
I mean, that's a lot of what I got about Irenicus, because I think that's what always makes a strong villain too. Is like there's a lot of games where you don't really get to interact or see the villains, whereas movies you'll get scenes where you see what the villain's doing. You almost very few times you have a movie where you're only focused on the protagonist and you never see the villain. And this is a game where you get to see what he's doing, as well as you also get to meet him multiple times and cause interference.
It's BioWare, right?
Yeah.
BioWare, I think, does that better than a lot of other games. Cause, like,
It was weird, though, until Mass Effect. The Saren disappears for quite a while. And
he
so
does, but, like,
Corypheus.
yeah, well,
Dragon
sort
Age
of.
3.
I mean, even then, they're still, I think, more present than a lot of other games at the time have.
Well, for sure.
Because Saren pops up about every... Like, he shows up a lot in the early game, and then again, a lot it's just in the middle game, he's not really present, but that's because you're just out trying to foil his plans. And some of that does depend on which order you play it. Like, you could actually have him show up right in the middle of the game if you just got to go to the one planet that he's at as soon as you get it. Like, some of the other ones is like, because Dragon Age is a little bit stranger. Like, the first one, you have Loghain, I guess, as your antagonist, and he kind of pops up similarly, like, at the beginning and end. But he's even
you
not,
also
like,
get cutscenes with him too.
but he's not. Yeah, but he wouldn't necessarily be considered the main antagonist of that game, though. He's
But
just
he
sort
is
of like
an antagonist.
yeah, he's just sort of like the most plot relevant until the end of the game.
The other thing I do love about Irenicus is he's played by Jim Ward, which he just provides a really excellent voice. And for those who don't know Jim Ward, if you've ever watched the movie Tron, he's the villain in Tron.
I think he's the original. No, I don't know. I know I recognize the name. I'm like, oh gosh, I think he's this guy from this game, but I don't think that's true, and I'm about to make a fool of myself.
If you've never seen Tron, he's in Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 2 as the Doctor.
I'm pretty sure there are lots of people. I'm pretty sure there are lots of people who haven't seen Tron at this point.
What if you haven't seen either of those?
Oh, wow, really? Never seen Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 2?
I don't like Teenage Mutant Ninja
Ew.
Oh, there is something wrong
She
with
is
you,
a
Taylor.
girl.
Oh, you watched Batman the Animated Series, right?
Yeah.
He was Ra's al Ghul.
Now I know.
No.
Yeah. Now imagine that voice put onto this character.
Oh, fuck.
He's a phenomenal actor and just creates, just put him providing the voice for this character does add just these great little, like when he delivers lines, just like they feel like they sting more when he's talking to you.
But like, so aside from him having a good villain plot, what else is there, man? Besides, like, what do you really because that's what Taylor's here is. Like, what makes him a really great?
Well, he sounds like he's a great plot, and then he has great interactions
Yeah.
with the protagonist, which keeps you going.
Yeah, like he's a villain that you're invested in trying to thwart, no matter if you're doing good or evil.
Yeah. And he constantly pushes you as a protagonist to keep doing things.
Yeah. He's constantly testing and challenging you. Not that he's like purposely trying to test you, because he wants you dead.
Because there are a few games
He even sends assassins after you, which is great because you find little missives. But
there are a few games out there that they have these protagonists, but the side stories can be so much more compelling than the actual thwarting of the antagonist. And I feel that that's something that happens in games quite a bit, where you're just like, well, actually, like, the villain in this side quest is just kind of better, and you kind of forget about the main antagonist.
That's kind of how I feel about Dragon Age 3, Samson. Is kind of a more interesting villain than Corypheus is.
Sort of, yeah. Yeah, I think you could definitely say that for Dragon Age 2, at least, when you go to, like, the DLC, and Corypheus is the bad guy in the DLC. It's like, this is way more interesting than a lot of the bad guys in the main game. Yeah. Although, again, the main is very different. And I would almost say, like, I like who ends up being the main antagonist, because you don't necessarily see it coming. But again, that can almost falls into... Because it's an interesting space where, like... I guess we're kind of coming at this from, like, characters who they start the game as the antagonist, they end the game as the antagonist. So not character who... maybe depending on the way you play the game, won't be an antagonist. Because that's the thing about Fallout New Vegas has a couple of great antagonists, but they may not be your antagonist through your playthrough. Mm-hmm. So I didn't really want to focus on it.
Yeah.
Because like you could play through the game and like no, they'll be your ally. Yeah. So they're not necessarily the same kind of thing, but there's nothing to stand them against being the antagonist or being against you. So sort of there's also a level of when you play a game sometimes the interactivity and being able to make choices shift around what an antagonist is and means to you within the context of the game. Or sometimes a sequel changes what an antagonist means. That was your like...
Yeah, that is actually... So for my villain, I picked one of my favorite villains of all time, and that is GLaDOS from Portal. For those of you who watched our Date Night series, it was the first date night we ever did, was playing through Portal. And had I just gone off of Portal 1, I would say that she was a weak villain. But I think with the addition of Portal 2, she actually became a lot more stronger. Now, one of the main things I like about GLaDOS is her dialogue. She is petty. She is sassy. She is, there are some things where I have to stop and go, oh, you. Because
you two are just awful. I'm going to make you guys edit the next story mode and listen through so you have to listen to the exact point where the swears happen.
I've only sworn twice. One was on accident. This is one where I was like, okay, I'm pausing so he can
Dramatic
find
effect.
Dramatic effect. She's petty to the point where, like, she's like a mean girl, but she can make a mean girl proud. Like, talking about, like, Chel's weight variances, in a couple where she says, like, oh, look at you fly through the air. It's graceful. Like a bird piloting a blimp. Like, there's just something about her dialogue that makes her just absolutely stand out above any other villain. But one of the main things that makes her so terrifying is she's in control of your surroundings. She can control every aspect of the rooms that you're in for the when you're in the testing chambers. So she can end your life at any point. Her programming just stops her from doing so until all of a sudden she can't get her release from testing, which you find out about in Portal 2.
She gets off on it.
Yeah, and it's built in. She cannot, like, it's not something like where she's like, oh, well, this is just who I am. No, they literally programmed her where she gets a kind of like this pleasure release when a subject finishes the test, and it becomes less and less potent the more and more this person tests, which makes her want to kill them more so she can get a new test subject in and start it again. So it's like, it's not her fault, technically. Like, it's it's hard to say, like, oh, well, she's totally at blame here because she didn't ask for that.
Well, she's a robot.
Yeah, well, she was a person ripped out, spoilers, person whose personality was ripped out of her body and placed into a computer.
Is that how it actually... Because I know that
she is Carolyn.
I thought that the implication was more that, like, she was a brain scan of that character, because there is, like... That's one of those things where it's... part of it's kind of cut story. Yeah. Like, there's an element of it that's like, there was a story beat that they originally had in Portal 2 that they cut, partially because J.K. Simmons felt too uncomfortable reading the lines that he was supposed to read. And two, like, him reading that made them realize it was kind of like not tonally and thematically appropriate for the game and didn't work anywhere near as well as they thought it was, like, what they were thinking it would be. Whereas I don't know how, like, how much Carolyn the computer is. If it's like a brain scanner.
Quite a bit. Her. But here's the thing: Carolyn didn't want to do the brain scan.
Yeah.
And that's one of the things that why Gladys is so angry when she wakes up is because there's something that you'll find as you're traveling through the rooms is Carolyn telling you, like, I don't want this. I don't want to do this. But it happens anyway. GLaDOS is there, and it's partially like you feel once you find out like who is behind GLaDOS and who she is, you're just like, now I'm a little more sympathetic towards you. Especially because in Portal 2, a good chunk of the game, you're together.
Yeah.
She doesn't help you. She can't. She literally...
She's a potato.
She's a potato. And she tries once. She tries to tell you to put the cube on the button and she actually gets hurt. So she cannot help you whatsoever. She's just there for commentary. And,
But I guess then, because we kind of...
You touched on this, like, oh, she's an ally. I'm like, well, technically she is, because you do fight Wheatley at the end, and that's only to get GLaDOS back in. And you don't know if GLaDOS will help you or not. Like, here's the thing. In the game, you give the choice to pick up GLaDOS or you don't. If you don't, she appears on your portal gun anyway. But at the end of the game, when Wheatley flies out, she shuts you out and you're on the moon. And she starts talking to you about, like, well, this is the last time you'll ever hear a hero voice.
I didn't know you could not pick her up.
Yes, you cannot pick her up, and there's an ending where she leaves you on the moon. And,
I didn't even know that.
Yes, so, like, there is this ability where she can kill you. She's like, this end game can go two different ways. But if you pick her up, you get the ending where she's like, you know what, you're just too much trouble. I don't want to deal with you anymore. Just go. Just leave.
Yeah.
Please. You're just too much trouble. And there's this kind of... One of my favorite moments is in Portal 2 is when you wake her up.
Yeah, that's kind of frightening.
It's a frightening moment because you're stuck in place, you can't do anything, and the one companion you have, she crushes. Well, he comes back, but she crushes him, and then she talks to you. Like, oh, how have you been doing? I've been dead because of you, but I hope you've been doing well. And, like, this monologue and the music has you so terrified because you're just like, oh, fuck. You're the last thing I wanted to be awake right now. Like, no. And then, like, as you're playing through, you are convinced she's going to kill you. She has every reason to kill you as you go through these tests, but then she doesn't, and she starts to rebuild, and then you also get that reaffirmation of her control as she starts to clean up aperture science around you as she's doing things, moving debris out of the way, getting everything cleaned up, and then all of a sudden it's back to normal the way it was. But
plus, there's like 1,000 more test subjects.
Oh yeah, and then she finds them in the if you play the co-op version with
Atlas and
Peabody, you find that she finds like 1,000 more human test subjects, and
I thought it was just a bunch of robots.
No, it's humans.
They're all like frozen humans.
Yeah,
they're all like companion cubes.
Nope.
Well,
although it's heavily implied that companion cubes have people inside them.
Yeah, that they're like ash remains of people.
Yeah.
Okay, but I guess then I don't know. Like, I feel like this kind of goes both ways. Where it's like, yeah, GLaDOS is kind of a decent villain. I'm fine with GLaDOS in the first game because the first game is the one where she's definitively the villain.
Yeah, she's definitively
the second
the villain.
one is sort of like. I would almost say like Wheatley is more the villain, or even Cave Johnson comes off as more the villain.
I will
by
definitely
the time
agree with you about Cave Johnson being a villain, but if we're looking at Portal 1 specifically, GLaDOS, you don't really see that turn until the last test, and then you realize, like, oh.
But I think
she's just more or less doing her job.
I think
she's
maybe
doing
this
her job.
I don't know. I don't know if you had like something that you wanted to draw us together with, because I started with being like, I don't think there are very strong villains. I think Ben gave the best example of someone who like something that disproves that. Someone who's a villain when you meet him. He's a villain at the end of the game, no matter what choices you make or how you approach the game. He's always a villain, and he's always someone you feel like you want to take care of, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, I guess that's like a little bit of disproving my ideas. Like, I don't think there are very strong antagonists. But I think maybe we landed on something that kind of shows the difficulty of writing an antagonist in a game.
Yes.
Which is that oftentimes what makes them more compelling is to have them at least be on your side for a while.
Or make you sympathetic to them. That's a very common thing, is to have a villain that someone can be sympathetic to.
Yeah. Which reminds me of the one that like we started off as a joke when we started recording, but Bertus said he's Jack, and at first I thought he was talking about Jack from Resident Evil 7. I was like, that's actually a pretty decent choice too. But because he's also a villain, it's like towards the very end of the game, Resident Evil 7. Not to spoil too much, but you get enough characterization out of him that you start to feel sympathy for him.
Yeah.
Which is very powerful for an antagonist. An antagonist that like maybe you feel bad about having to make the decision you have to make later in the game or whatever.
Mm-hmm. I guess my thing is like with Portal 1, like your main goal was getting out of there. You want it out, and you thought maybe to destroy the machine that's controlling everything, you can get out. Well, now your goal in Portal 2 is doing that again. And I think GLaDOS will always like. Even though she's with you, she's always that villain. She's a reminder of the hell she put you through. Like, to me, she was always like that kind of, like, even having her there, I'm just like, man, I want to I wish I had the option to take you off and just chuck you off the side. Because it's a constant reminder of not only the first game, but how hard everything is, and that you're stuck there because of...
And depending on how you choose, she can kill you anyways.
And depending on how you choose, she could kill you anyway. Like... There's an idea of no matter how, even if you help her get rid of Wheatley, there is no guarantee that she's going to let you go.
Yeah.
She could easily wake you up and go, all right, back to testing. Back to doing what you need to do. Like, there is no guarantee.
But then what stops her then from doing that?
The realization of Carolyn, but also her, as she explains, she runs the numbers and realizing that having you around is a lot more trouble for her than just, and as she says, like, killing you is hard. So just getting rid of you is the best option for me, scientifically. Letting you go is the best option. We are not friends. I don't love you. Don't come back. Don't come visit. Get out. Like, she makes it very clear that she doesn't like you. Like, I think people say that the cara mia addio, that the opera at the end is kind of a goodbye, but for the most part, you get this idea that, like, she does all, like, she ran the numbers and she goes, you know what, you're just not worth it anymore. Just trying to kill you is not worth it. So just get out.
Yeah, the end of the song is "Want You Gone."
Yeah. So literally, like, it's this, like, she's just like, you know what? In my best interests, it's just easier to get rid of you. It's not a noble motion. It's completely selfish what she does.
Yeah.
It's completely self-preservation, just to get rid of Chell.
She definitely doesn't do it, but she cares for your well-being.
Oh god, no. She's like, get out.
I just want there to be a Portal sequel now, like a Portal 3, and it doesn't have to be in like an intense game. It's literally just like you as Chell going around like the outskirts of where you think the place is and planting like giant EMP bombs. It's like, you are so dead. You are so dead. How did I leave you alive last time? I don't know.
And you just see Gordon Freeman.
You are
forever.
But yeah,
you're terrible. I'm ready to destroy you now.
I think one of the things is that they make you sympathetic, and I think there's a lot of fan theory that says that GLaDOS does care for Chell, and I'm like, I don't think that is at all. I think she just goes.
It's fan theory. You can't stop into it.
No.
Well, I wouldn't even say it's fan theory. I would say that's ambiguous.
Yeah.
They leave, like, and I get you guys are allowed to have your own decision. Like, I don't think so, but because that's one of the things where it's like, you know what? As someone who played through the game myself, I think that is there. I think that like there's a lot of this whole like that GLaDOS does have compassion for Chell, but that her program and like her character is so straight that like has no idea how to express that. This is the only possible way that they know how to express that. That's the kind of ambiguity that's, one, good writing in general, because then it allows people to come away from a character with different ideas and opinions, and different meanings, too, which is not bad for a game, which is, I think, to its advantage. So I would say it's another case of like, no, that's the kind of space of ambiguity where you're allowed to come away with different concepts and ideas. It's just that lots of people seem to have a real hard time with the ambiguity. Yeah. Or it's just like, no, it's this exact story in it because it proves me right. It's like, well, no, it's ambiguous.
No, it's how you interpret it. It's exactly how you want to interpret it, and
which I think adds to GLaDOS being a better villain.
Yeah, I always say though that her dialogue is probably some of the best villains dialogue I've ever heard. Like just the sheer pettiness and the sheer like. Just she's constantly digging into you and bringing you down, just constant. There is no ending to it.
So much so that I remember there being articles about parents being upset with their kids playing the game because of what she would say.
I mean, there were some times where I'm just like, where she gets on the jump pad and she goes, "Oh, you broke it. Let me just add a few zeros to the maximum weight." And I'm just like, wow, rude. Yeah. But like, there's just a lot to her that makes it better. And I think she's, though an ambiguous villain, she's still a strong villain, a strong antagonistic character. I'm saying, I think if we go with the villain aspect, it's one thing, but when you say antagonist, it's another. It's the person that, the antagonist makes the protagonist start on their journey for the hero's arc.
So to wrap it all up,
yeah,
what makes a great antagonist? They have to be, I guess, lovable, like Bowser.
No, I mean,
like there's
relatable.
I'm not looking for like one single thing. I'm like, well, we all brought something to the table. So let's summarize here. What did we bring, and what did we feel like we found? As we're exploring this, is what makes a great villain. Well, they could be a lovable doofus who we like to see show up because we enjoy them, and maybe we want to root for them to a degree to win because they're just a doofus.
Or maybe it's fun to kick their teeth in.
Yeah, maybe we want that revenge on them so badly that like we can't stop playing the game until like I need to have my goddamn shoe in his mouth. And that's the only way this ends. That's when I'm done playing.
When I see that coin pop out of his butt, it'll be over.
Or in the case of Jack of Blades,
I would say it's actually the world building around him that makes the strong villain. Like
it's sort of like the
mythology.
Yeah, the mythology, or like the mystery surrounding them. That like you want to figure them out.
Yes,
you want to know what they're about, rather than so much like you know who they are, but you want to know like what they're doing, why they're doing it.
Yeah, and how they impact the character on their journey is, I guess, the other part that makes them a great antagonist.
Okay.
Or in the case of
GLaDOS. It's the impact.
Or maybe it's all of the above.
Yeah, it's the impact. It's
somehow all of the above.
Yeah, she's basically everything they've just described. It's the impact, it's the dialogue, and it's the world. It's the world building around that character that really makes her a good villain. But I think Ben has that final one with John.
I don't know. Like I think GLaDOS actually kind of pulls in all of those things that we brought to the table. Whereas like here's someone who's lovable. You might want to see win at moments, because you do in Portal 2. Mm-hmm. You'd rather see her win than Wheatley.
Yeah.
If you're playing Portal 1, and as I described at the end, I want a sequel now where I just get to have my foot in her teeth.
And then you got one, and you're just like, wait, I don't want that anymore.
Yeah. Well, no, I mean, like, that's how Portal 1 ends. It's like, I want a Portal 3 that allows me to go back and now beat her up. I didn't know she would leave you on the moon. What a dick move. I want to...
It's only if you don't grab the potatoes. That's it.
Or a character who, as you learn more about them, you come to learn more about the world around you and how it affects you as a person. Mm-hmm. And it's like, actually, yeah, each one of those... So I guess Taylor just way to go somehow on bringing to the table a villain that somehow summarized all the things that me and Ben and Burtis managed to bring.
Well, I guess we're just going to wrap it up and say goodbye here, folks. Thanks for listening.
If there was a villain you think that outweighs everybody else, please comment.
Final Fantasy villains are also welcome for discussion.
Yeah. We kind of almost intentionally skipped over them because we didn't need, like, Kefka and Kuja all over this. And Sephiroth.
I would say Arden.
I would have brought Arden or Sephiroth to the
Arden
table.
would be the big one.
Seymour would have been a good one, too.
Ooh.
Sephiroth.
But as you can see, like, we just named, like, six of their villains.
Yeah. Final Fantasy villains are a league of their own. So,
like, I don't want to say, like, necessarily, but they are just, like, they're an easier grab, and I didn't want to see them, like, I wanted to find something a little bit outside of that.
Yeah, so if you are listening to this on YouTube, please like, comment, and subscribe. If you think there's a villain that we missed, please tell us all about it. We'd love to hear it.
Oh, Burtis looks so hurt. You took his plug away from him.
And if you're listening to us on iTunes, give us your money.
If you happen to find us, we're still trying to figure that part out, getting ourselves onto iTunes. And yes, our Twitter is @WatchPostF5. You can send us any kind of little message you want to, hey, I think you guys missed this villain or that villain, or whatever. Yeah, thanks very much for listening. We're Co-Operatives.
We are Co-Operatives. And for those of you who like to be the hero of your own story, we here at Co-Operatives think that we like to give back to the community, and we are currently raising money with a charity called Extra Life, which works with Children Miracle Network hospitals, bringing joy and, of course, resources to hospitals. Funding to hospitals that service to children of all ages with different illnesses. We will post our charity link at the bottom. If you want to donate a few dollars towards that, we would appreciate it. And all of our money goes to the Lurie Children's Hospital here in Chicago. I know they want to do a big expansion to allow 12 more? I think it was 12 more beds for children that really need the treatment. So for those of you who like to be the hero, there's a good chance now.
Put the fun in funding.
Yeah. All right, guys. Well, thank you so much for listening today, and we'll catch you next time on Story Mode. Bye.
Later.
See you.